Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of GeekVerse podcast. I am the Ants House, Taylor Field, and I'm joined by,
I'm the Storm Chaser, Kirkland Batzer.
yes, judging by our nicknames, if you're familiar or unfamiliar, we are here to retro the Twister movie with Bill Paxton. It's going to be delightful because this is in celebration of the Twisters movie that's going to be coming out this week, actually. And me and Kirk are going to be deep diving into a review for that. So you'll want to check out our feeds because that'll be coming to a feed near you. Additionally, we have some closing finales this week as well. We have the Acolyte season finale we're going to be reviewing. We have the Boys season 4 finale that we're going to be reviewing, and then Game of Thrones House of Dragon every Sunday that we are reviewing as well. We just dropped episode 5, and what else do we got cooking? A lot of retrospectives. We have Alien retrospective popping off on our Patreon in celebration of Alien Romulus, which comes out in August. We have the X-Men Wolverine retros that have been popping off on our Patreon as well in celebration for Deadpool and Wolverine. We also did Deadpool retros as well that you can get on our feeds. What else is there that's dropping?
In terms of X-Men, we also did the Logan retro, right?
That's
and
right.
Then we brought Kyle Smid back from the hibernation. Me, Travis, and him recorded X-Men Apocalypse. That was
Wasn't Days of Future Past?
no, it was Dark Phoenix was the
Oh,
one
Dark
he thought
Phoenix, Dark
the
Phoenix,
one he
right.
thought it was. Yeah, go check out that episode because Travis definitely got him good live. Where we might have. Well, we told him to watch the right movie, but then as soon as we got to recording, we asked his thoughts on a different movie, and his reaction was just priceless. So, yeah, go check that out. That was lots of fun.
Oh, that's good. That's amazing. Yeah, so with all of that, if you want to find more content, you can do so with our website, Homebase. Almost said another
You said my
podcast.
name.
Yeah. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. You can also find us on Patreon where you can add free exclusive early episodes, like I said, all the retro content. And if you are a Patreon, holy shit, these folks here, Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Jack Grant, Muds, Sam. Uh, wait,
God
this
lives to be
needs
69, isn't there?
no,
Isn't he on there?
he is on there. Why is this not updated? Travis has just been popping this, but just naming off
He's asleep at the
God Loves Me
wheel.
69. Yeah. Well, God Loves Me 69. You son of a gun, eh? You are a lucky
You
you're
dirty
sneaking
dog,
in there.
you.
You dirty dog you. Yeah, you're snuck on there too. You're on that list. You guys are fantastic. We love you. Thank you for supporting the Patreon, everything that we do. You guys are great. There's one more thing I needed to shout out. That's Geekverse Day. Oh my goodness. Yes,
You got
Geekverse
it.
Day is coming out this August. If I could remember the actual day, I would say it. Isn't it the 9th or something like that? It's
No,
one
it's
of
the
the
first. It's
oh, it's the first.
the third, fourth. There
The
you go.
third, fourth. Okay, yeah, there
Just
you
the
go.
third. Third is the Saturday.
Just the third.
Yeah.
Okay. You
August
hear it
long
here
weekend.
first. Yeah, August long weekend. And it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna be streaming for a long freaking time, and then all the new patrons that we get and subscriptions and all that, we're gonna be bumping up our time. There's gonna be trivia. There's gonna be patron trivia. There's gonna be Geek Verses. We got the whole roster coming in, and there's gonna be a whole bunch of good
2012
stuff.
Golden Geeks. Don't
2012
forget that.
Golden Geeks. Yeah, that'll be juicy. And then we got another wrestling match that I got to do apparently against my will. So lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff. But I think that is it. So without further ado, Kirkland, what's your history with Twister here?
Twister, yeah. It's funny. I always thought this movie was called Twisters for some reason in my mind, and then not until now we're leading up to Twisters, the sequel, which I imagine there would be more than one tornado to really make that title work. But yeah, it's funny. This movie, I don't know if it was like a main rotation in my house, but I think my dad really loved this movie, so we had it like on VHS, and I've definitely would just because we don't have unlimited VHSs, you would tend to rewatch some of the ones that you actually own. So yeah, Twister was one of them where I don't know what age I saw it at, probably pretty young. It's funny, this actually came out the year I was born, 1996.
Mm.
So nice tie there, I guess. I guess. I think in hindsight, I saw this movie a lot more actiony than it actually is. Like, I think I don't think I've seen it since I've seen on VHS. Maybe it was like a random like on TV type of scenario where you catch like the back half or something. But yeah, I remember really loving this movie just for like what the Twister is, especially living in an area where fortunately we don't really get, well, we don't really. We definitely do not get tornadoes here. Living in the valley, we're pretty safe. I always call this area the Shire where we live in because we don't really get a lot of natural disasters other than forest fires, which usually run pretty rampant. But no, just the idea of what it is, just like a powerful Mother Nature type event, just always blew my mind as a wee young lad. And um, yeah, I think I really just liked the whole cowboy type feel of what this movie is, right? Like these people are chasers. They're scientists, but like they, especially the way that they portray them, they're just like thrill seekers, it seems. And I really like the energy of what these movies were. I really like the side characters. Philip Seymour Hoffman, his character, rest in peace to him. But his character in this is just such a different role than like I think I've seen him play like in anything else really. Like he's a pretty, or he was a very um what's the best way to say, like he had a lot of depth of an actor. Like he could do a lot of different realms. I feel like his most memorable performances for me are the more dramatic or maybe more villainy type roles. But to see him in this is just such a different like twist, pun not intended, than I'm used to seeing from him. And I really loved his character in this. It was really entertaining. And
You've seen
it,
Along Came Polly, right?
oh yeah,
Because I feel
okay.
like this is the same character that he
100%. Yeah,
plays.
good shout out there. That's hilarious cuz he's like the private investigator, right? And then he like falls in love with her, or am I misremembering
No, no, no.
the
That's
movie?
that's the Cameron Diaz one.
Oh,
Along
okay.
Came Polly.
Something about
That's
Mary.
when
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Ben Stiller's the insurance guy, and uh,
Oh,
Hoffman
the
is
Shart,
the
right? That's right.
yeah. He's playing
Yeah.
basketball and stuff. Like
Yeah,
he's
that's
the
where I found out
actor.
what a Shart was. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Good movie. That's a good movie. But yeah, no, like watching this now in anticipation for Twisters, I'm really glad that we did do this retro because I feel like it did a couple things where like I had already mentioned, I remember this movie being a little bit different than what it actually is in my mind. Like I don't know if I remember them like actually battling these tornadoes or like something along those lines. I just thought it was like a lot crazier of a plot than what it actually is. Like it really is a pretty basic tale, other than the fact that these people like chase tornadoes, but like all they're really trying to do is get this one device in this one tornado, or like yeah, it so like there's not much more than that. There's some character stuff between the guys, like ex-wife, I guess, and his new fiance that he like. The reason why he even gets on this adventure is because he's trying to get his ex-wife to sign these divorce papers, and
Hmm.
like that's really it. Like he's not there to like partake in this science experiment at all. Obviously that is the route it goes, and by the end of it the like the new fiance is just completely gone and he's back with his this ex. So just like for what happens, for like what's built up in the beginning, I feel like it's pretty kind of funny how it goes that route. I guess maybe just along the way he finds out that they're not super compatible, but hopefully you get to that point with your fiance, but like without a tornado being the factor for that. But no, I'm really glad that we did watch this too because I feel like it'll really set my expectations going into Twisters, where now it's like okay, this is just people like scientists trying to get a device or something like in front of these storm chasers, just tackling these twisters, and I nothing much more than that is really what's going on, and I'm hoping for just some nice visuals and some fun action sequences in the new film, and like just set my bar of expectations kind of there. So I'm glad I watched that for that reason going into the new one. But yeah, this is still like a really solid movie for me. I think it is a little cheesy at certain parts, maybe some dialogue with some of the just the crazy characters, but like this is a 90s film. I think what they're able to do with it's late 90s, so like the CGI isn't that bad compared to something from like maybe the 60s 70s, but I think they use it sparingly in enough ways to really make it feel authentic of a threat with the big twister. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is by any means my favorite movie. Maybe watching it now, I like it less than I would have as a kid, but it's still really fun, still a fun time. I like the cast that's in it. Helen Hunt, which is Bill Paxton's ex-wife in this. I think she's really good. She's really just like trying to break him up though, like the entire time. As soon as Bill Paxton arrives with his new fiance, it just seems like Helen Hunt is just thirsty for the Pax man, and just really trying to wedge between the new lady and him. But yeah, I don't think I have really much more to say about that. Like this movie is less complicated than I remember it being in hindsight. And it's funny you were mentioning earlier where you were trying to find a nice thumbnail and like the pictures just were not good at all. And I'm looking at like the poster for it, and it's hilarious. It's just kind of like a silhouette of a twister. Like you can't really see it at all. It's really like fuzzy, sort of
Mm-hmm.
pixelated, and like the slogan is just "Don't breathe, don't look back." Twister, the dark side of nature. like, it feels like Darth Vader's coming to like fucking kill these people, but it's really just a tornado. Not
Yeah.
trying to downplay what a tornado is. I know it, negatively affects tons of people every year, but yeah, no, I really really love this. I don't know if I would love it, but I think the fact that I have nostalgia for it, it definitely increases my overall enjoyment for the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I wish I could remember the first time I saw this movie, but I remember uh, the ending absolutely terrifying me when our two main characters were running away from the big one, and they had to like hunker down, and just the thing went over them, and it's just, oh, it absolutely terrified me. And then there's other scenes too where everything is calm, and they're the drive-in theater is playing, and everything's just chill, and it's just super quiet, and it appears, and it's just destroying. And that there's so many different things in this movie that it frightens me. And what I give this movie credit as, or credit for being, is it's just, to my knowledge, maybe there's something before it, but this is really one of the first of its kinds, where it's like a Jaws. No shark movie, no matter what you do, is really gonna ever top that original Jaws movie. That's just the be all end all, and anything else after that, it lacks that certain spark to it. And I feel like we've had Geostorm and 2012 and all of these different supernatural disaster films. And this one just, while the CGI was questionable at some times, it definitely just stands on its own, and it's a really iconic film. I'd say it's a classic, and I completely went over my head that Michael Crichton actually worked on, I believe, the screenplay. Is that what I read here? Or it was, sorry, it was written actually, yeah, written by Michael Crichton and Anne Marie Martin. So Michael
Is it
Crichton,
Jurassic Park
it's
guy?
Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
yeah. So very, very cool stuff. And it's
That makes
just, it's
sense. I feel because like the Twister feels like a monster for a lot of
yeah.
the movie, so that does make sense.
Yeah, and Michael Crichton has always been good at kind of diving into the things that humanity kind of indulges in, and the dangers of nature and science. And so this movie is that, like you said, it's very simple. It's them just trying to pop their little science machine into the tornado, and then they can get all these new scientific readings and whatnot. And the fact that they just go into the tornado so many times just blows my mind. But there's a few scenes here I'm excited to talk about with you. But I think it's a really, really fun movie to watch. The characters are really, really interesting and flamboyant, and there's certain settings, set pieces that they get into, which, like, this is just such a crazy thing, but it fits for that time period, I guess. And there's something comforting about an old 80s, 90s movie. Even, I'd say even probably 70s, but for me and Madison, we've really kind of been on this bandwagon for those older flicks. There's something just calm and nostalgic about it, even if it's chaotic and tornadoes everywhere. There's still something that's just got a good vibe to it. So this is definitely one of my top tier Bill Paxton movies, up there with Aliens and Predator 2. So and I guess Terminator. So it's nice to see Bill Paxton back on screen, and I can see that Glenn Powell's probably got some inspiration from Paxton's character in that new one. Well, definitely more cowboyish. I feel like the Bill Paxton that we would have seen before this movie is what Glenn Powell is trying to portray, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But
Before he's all
it's
retired and goes to the city. Yeah.
before he's all retired. Yeah, he goes to the city. But yeah, there's good humor in this movie, and it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And shout out to I never know how to say his last name. Carrie
Uh,
Eloise.
yeah,
Basically the not the Twister antagonist, but the other human antagonist, like the other Storm Chaser kind of guy
right.
that like stealing his design. Um, he plays like a good kind of like prick asshole type character, and it's kind of funny how like by the end, I really didn't remember how it happened, like in hindsight, but like they end up kind of working together to just like I'm pretty sure he helps him out to I can't even remember how it goes, but basically they just like call him and get some advice and information from him, and then they kind of work together to for the better of science, right? Like it's not even like they defeat the tornado. It's literally just to measure it because up until this point they don't have instruments to really track the twisters, which is funny like nowadays because we just obviously science is a lot further along than it was 28 years ago when this came out, but like at the time of this movie, I don't even know if the science was there yet, but according to the movie people, like these characters, Bill Paxton, this is the first time that we are actually reading a tornado to see how it
Yes.
works. And it's kind of funny in hindsight on how that is. And I'm just curious for the new movie, like how they're gonna deal with that, right? Like obviously they don't need technology to track it's not like this will be the first time that they're reading the tornadoes. So I'm just kind of curious as to see like what our main people are doing as opposed to just thrill seeking and trying to just chase tornadoes. But yeah.
The technology seems to be the same from what they are showing in the trailer for the new one to this one. Like they got to get close, and this little tank will open up, and all these things will go into it,
Yeah.
into the tornado. And I kind of thought, like, are they trying to dissipate the tornado? These things that get sucked into the tornado kind of have an
Right.
effect on being able to dissolve it, so it wouldn't be causing damage. But yeah, the big thing in this movie is that they want to increase the warning time from 3 minutes up to something higher, and so doing this scientific experiment will kind of make that happen. Now, Carrie's character, fuck, he's an interesting antagonist throughout this film, but man, I was not expecting his like he really fuck. I guess we're getting into where the meat and potatoes now, but he really fucks his team over. You know, if you're driving this car and you got a equivalent professional, industry professional screaming in the radio like, turn around, it's gonna turn and hit you. Are you turning around, or are you just gonna listen to your boss?
I'm probably trying. And that guy, man, he gets a terrible ending like less than a minute after that,
Oh
right? Oh my
yeah,
god. Takes him
Christ.
out alone. Couldn't have taken out Carrie next to him. No, it takes out the fucking driver. That's like, maybe we should listen to a man. I don't know about this.
Yeah, that's Final Destination level. That's what he got. Christ. Um, where do you want to start though on this movie? Do you have a certain character, a certain scene?
I mean, yeah, like the opening of the movie, I really did not remember this at all. Where it's Helen Hunt's character as a child, and then tornado comes in, really, really scary for the family. I did not understand the dad's like
His
goal here to
plan?
just
No.
hold the fucking door shut. Like, if he's not just where his family are, even if the door gets yanked open, like, aren't they just fine? Because clearly, like, the daughter and the mom didn't get pulled out of the door. He's just holding on to it.
I can't hold it any longer
And then
as
he
he's
just
screaming.
and then but he does. He keeps holding on to it, and then it just takes him and the door away, just fucking out of there. And I just burst out laughing. I'm like, man, that like what an opening to this movie.
Hmm.
Like talk about a vendetta between I guess Helen Hunt's character and just the tornado in general. So I guess I get the motivation for her to want to stop that and build some technology to prevent that from happening. But yeah, that'd probably scar me for life. Just see my
Hmm.
dad slurped away by a tornado.
Yeah, that scene cracks me up. And again, I get it, like the limited warning that they have, but even on the TV, like they're mentioning a storm is coming in, and I felt like once the storm actually landed, they took their time to get out. But again, I'm not in those scenarios. I don't know. They were trying to recreate as best they could, I'm sure. So, I mean, they got the dog in, so that was good. But yeah, the dad's
Yeah.
plan just they went further down into that basement cellar, they would have all been fine, like the rest of the family was. But yeah, he's holding on. That door is absolutely shit. Maybe he could have thrown some more stuff to kind of like fortify it, but I guess this is like the highest category tornado that's. And the next time it's seen is with Helen Hunt's character in present day, right? Because I think it was like a Cat 5 or something like that they were calling it. It was the big one. Uh,
Yeah, I can't remember the specific number of it. And then of course it's a bigger one like later on in the film.
mm-hmm.
I think it's bigger. It's equivalent if not bigger.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, wild opening to the movie. And like it's something too where I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we don't really like with Helen Hunt's character. I just pulling it up right now. Dr. Joe Harding. That oh yeah, so there you go. She's got the same last name as Bill Harding. Still holding on to that name. Not actually divorced. They're still married, I guess, by the law. She doesn't really like call back to that sequence a lot of the time. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like a really like sad character. She's pretty joyful, happy go lucky for the most part. Um so it like it especially like I don't know. I feel like our main character is definitely Bill Paxton for this whole ride. It's like his technology, right? That is the one that I guess his like prototype design was
Yeah,
what they
Dorothy.
yeah, Dorothy, there you go. And they ended up building it and then he was of course super pumped on and Helen Hunt's character just saw it through fruition whereas Bill Paxton just moved to the city. The, the tie to like the opening, I feel like just wasn't called back to that much for for how like shocking and visceral of an experience it would have been for our
Mm-hmm.
main character. Um, but I don't know, like they're clearly passionate about it, and if she's affected in that sense, it would make sense why she would make it like her life's work to keep going in that. But I also didn't really understand why Bill Paxton like didn't stick with it. I guess he was just not in love with Helen Hunt anymore. Like why he moved to the city, he was just kind of done with that life. But as soon as he comes back, he's just in love with it again. Like he's super jacked and jazzed by the thrill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he is. I think that their relationship is interesting, and I think the dynamic of him just being addicted to this thrill of the hunt is it gets you going too, because I think as he's kind of going back and being re-immersed into it and learning like, oh, they developed the technology, it's great for the audience because you start to like you get hyped up with him as he's getting hyped up and like getting back in touch with this thrill of uh, tornado chasing. You said something else, and I had a thought that I wanted to mention. Oh my
Bill
goodness.
Paxton escaping to the city or Helen Hunt, the
No.
prototype
Oh yeah, okay, Helen Hunt. Yes.
Dorothy.
So her character. Now you mentioned she had a lot of trauma at the start of the movie, but they didn't follow up or touch upon it really throughout the rest of the film. And you're totally right with that. The only instances I felt like we kind of got a little bit of that is when you'd see a tornado and she'd stand there like 5 feet away from it, like, oh, there you are, like just taking it in, and then she'd run away. So that's kind of like the only dose of, I guess, facing her fears, confronting them that I kind of would pick up upon since she
Yeah.
was a little kid. But other than that, yeah, like there's really nothing, which is kind of shocking considering like your dad just got fucking sucked out of this doorway when you're a little girl. That's pretty scary shit.
Absolutely. Uh, so yeah, we that happens, and then we follow Bill Paxton, and like this was something that kind of just surprised me, and I did not remember at all. It was just like how Bill Paxton like gets on this adventure. Like he literally is just coming with his wife to his ex-wife, I guess, or his technically they're still married. So yeah, technically he's still married, and then his fiance is with
Yeah,
him, and then
yeah.
he's trying to get the divorce papers written, and Helen Hunt is just like not signing these papers at all. And like I just feel like if I'm in that position, it's just like just fucking sign the papers and let me get the hell out of here. Like
Missing pages and all that
yeah.
shit.
Oh no, yeah, I'll get to it. Like, do I gotta do it right now? Like, she's just like clearly still wanting to be married to this guy, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that was something that wasn't really easy for me to buy and go along with. That like Bill Paxton is just like he's just over this life and her and like maybe like the pairing with Melissa was her name, like his now his new fiance. Like what why he would have chosen her over that. Like it just seemed like okay, this is the situation, and that's the start of the movie, and then we're just gonna go with that, and it was just kind of weak, like the actual explanation of what was going on there for me at least. And Melissa was kind of a funny character to have on these adventures because she's just so out of her element. She's getting really shook up on all these events, like when I think they have like a near miss with one of the tornadoes, and like they're all like super jacked up and pumped, and she's like, "I gotta get out of here. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
done." She's just like totally freaking out. How I would be if I was in that situation. Like, gosh, you could die at any moment if that tornado gets too close to you. Um, but it was just kind of a funny variable to have with them. And then, I mean, by the end of the movie, which how long is this? Like a couple days, if that.
It's at least it's got to be they what we go through like 2 nights, 3 nights. So it's at least a long weekend.
Yeah, and then by the end of that, he's back with his ex-wife
Yeah.
and just well, I guess they're married, so he's just back with his wife now.
Mm-hmm.
They're married still, and then his fiance, who I imagine they were like living together in the city. Like, does he go back to collect his stuff and it's really weird, or like does he just never go back? He just
Brings
fucking
his wife
completely
with him.
wipes his hands clean. Yeah, like it was just all of that logistics I just found pretty funny. But and then yeah, she's like a therapist, I think is her role.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. It's maybe a little bit of a weaker part of the movie overall. It's like I think I would have been totally okay if like they didn't have that complexity of the relationships. Maybe it's just a variable to throw into there because this movie is pretty basic to begin with, so a bit of a factor there. And Melissa keeps getting paired up with Dusty, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, and yeah, he's just a he's just a good time every time he's on screen.
I'm gonna get into my thoughts after this ad break, and I'm back. So, uh, I couldn't agree more. I think that this is definitely probably the weaker thing, and I think that it's kind of shoehorned in there just for the sake of we need a romantic dynamic. You you can probably I don't want to say this because this comes off as negative, but you can probably only do so much with the thrill of the chase, and in between all these tornado sequences you need to have some other kind of dilemma with our characters, something kind of moving the story forward. And so I feel like okay, we'll do a weird love triangle and just kind of see how this unfolds. And yeah, Melissa, I think it was funny seeing Melissa with Hoffman's character and just seeing her thrown into the situation that's just life and death. Like the first time the that Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt go into that first tornado and Helen Hunt's truck just gets fucking nuked and they're hiding under the wooden bridge and the thing passes and like Melissa runs at them like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And they're just like, "Yeah, we're fine, we're cool. Let's go follow it again," or something like that. Like just super nonchalant about it. That made me laugh. But I think the fact that their relationship was not this strong, he clearly didn't like being a weatherman. He took offense to that when Carrie Elwes would insult him. So yeah, I think that not a strong relationship, but yeah, he's back with his wife. So there you go, Joe Harding.
There you go. The other thing that kind of surprised, like a lot of side characters with our almost like a band of misfits,
Mm-hmm.
like all like the crew members and everything. And I feel like yeah, like we mentioned Philip Seymour Hoffman. There's a lot of people in this crew that like I wouldn't like I recognize them. Like one of them was Alan Ruck from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was
Oh yeah, you're
Ferris's
right.
buddy.
The map guy.
Um, yeah, like there's just like a couple names that I've seen places, not like a lot. The one character, Jeremy Davis, who he played Lawrence in it. Like I think I've only seen that guy in Lost, so it was kind of
Mm-hmm.
funny to see him like pop up in here. And I guess that would have been around that time. I think Lost is like late '90s, maybe early 2000s. So it was just kind of funny seeing these familiar faces pop up, even though they're not like big main lead stars, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, recognizable enough to kind of fill the merry band of misfits here. And yeah, it was a fun gang. Like when they were at the aunt's house, just eating up her food and just the whole vibe of what the aunt was. She seemed like a really nice lady.
That food will just look so freaking good. I'd love to eat there. But Melissa wasn't having it. She didn't look impressed.
No, no, and I wouldn't be either. I'd been like, just fucking sign these papers and let's go back to the city. I'm so
Yeah.
done with this shit. We're about to die every 2 minutes.
Your fiance's showering in this fucking random lady's house. What's
Yeah.
going on
And
here?
like every bump that he has with Helen Hunt, it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
like they're reigniting the spark. Like if I'm Melissa, like I'm just like this, like let's get the fuck out of here. This is so
Yeah.
awful. I'm losing
Let's
my
go.
man every 2 minutes, and by the end of it too, she was a total champ. She's like, yeah, no, you be with her. This is your life. Like, no, that's
Hmm.
great, and she's like not mad at all. It's just like this
No,
is the
you
way
want
it
to
has
just
to be.
kill yourself, then fucking go ahead.
Yeah,
Jeez. Uh,
yeah.
I was quite surprised when they did this curveball of the ant's house being destroyed. But the set piece, I don't know if you've seen like the set that they built for it. It's pretty cool how they built this
No, I
distorted
didn't.
house. And they had it's like sideways stairs, and like Bill Paxton he has to run down these sideways stairs that they built and everything. It's
Oh yeah.
pretty cool set piece. But I'm glad that the ant survived. I'm glad that the dog survived. But it was that's just one of the most terrifying moments of the movie when it's like I said, quiet. It hits the drive-in theater, and then they find out, oh my god, it hit the little town community, and they go
Yeah.
there, and like it's all just ravaged.
Yeah, that sequence, when I think it's at the movie theater when it's like all like pitch black and then like I can't remember if it's like lightning or something lights up the sky. Something happens and then you just kind of see it. And that is probably like the most memorable visual that I have from this movie. Like I remember seeing that as a young kid and just like I don't know, it's like a monster movie type sequence where it's just like
Hmm.
pure quiet and I don't know how quiet a tornado really is. Again, like I've never really been I mean, I'm fortunate enough to not have, have been running from a tornado, but I imagine they'd be pretty loud 'cause, like wind is fucking loud, let alone when they're whipping giant, house pieces and
Hmm.
cars and cows and fucking Helen Hunt's dad around in the sky. Like I imagine they get pretty damn loud, but I just love them like looking out and then all of a sudden it's lit up and like it's just massive. Like it's so huge and like it looks so close because it is just so huge and
Hmm.
yeah, just a really really well done scene and definitely the most memorable one that I had as a kid. Even more so than like the cow sequence when they're driving.
Hmm.
Another cow? I think it's the
Yeah.
same one.
Yeah. What else did we have? We had that oil tanker scene too, right? They're just like whipped out of the. They're like, oh my god, and you see this oil tanker, this big semi
Oh
truck come
yeah.
out of the tornado, and they're like, oh guys, did you see that explosion? And they're like, yeah, yeah, we did.
It's funny because it's like how much crazier can a twister get, right? Like it's really just I guess the objects that it's swinging around and
Like
like what
sharks.
other yeah exactly Sharknado. So that's another thing. Like going into the second one, like how are they gonna step up, right? Like what's already been done, other
A
than
bunch
just
of
doing it
guns.
again
We'll
and
get into it, and the guns will start shooting.
it can camouflage. Invisible tornado.
Yeah.
That would be the winner probably. Can't see it at all. Um, but yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I don't know where I was
Sorry,
going to go next.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just how they like amp it up, right? I guess like.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Um, it's funny because it is just such like a simple idea for a movie. I feel like I don't have too much to really break down other than like certain sequences. Like it seems like there's a lot of times where Helen Hunt is like she's like especially in the early stages I think there's two moments where she's willing to like yeah we just got like we need like 10 more seconds and then we'll be fine like we'll literally be mission accomplished and then Bill Paxton's like it's not worth it and it feels like they fuck around for the same amount of time that it would have taken if he had just let her like do what she was trying to do and then they just
Mhm.
like completely lose the vehicle or whatever the object is that they're trying to do and like it's reasonable for him to be worried and like it's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. Like your life for the science. But it seems like by the end they end up kind of risking it anyways for the science. So yeah, I think the first No, probably I think the second instance when they like park the car and it's like coming towards them, that's when they hide, I think behind the bridge or sorry, underneath the bridge when the tornado comes through.
Wasn't that the
I,
first one? Because they were in like a cornfield. Maybe that was the last one.
okay, yeah. It's been a week now since I've seen this movie, so it's blending together. Plus I've been watching a lot right now. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the first time and I don't know. I felt like she could have got it. It is definitely stressful if that thing's coming right for you, and you know you're like trying to do it perfect, and you're all shaky because it's your life's on the line there. But I felt like in that moment, I'm like, oh man, just let her do it. She's so close, she's gonna get it. But she probably would have flew in like her dad did and
Oh yeah.
went out like him.
That whole scene of them in that first encounter, they just drove into that narrow ditch. I guess it was like a dried
Yeah.
up river, and that's when I guess they hit the bridge, right? So they couldn't go any further. They couldn't even
Mm-hmm.
drive out. Yeah, why would you get yourself in that situation? Why would you commit to a narrow
Yeah.
crevice like
Corner
that, I
yourself.
guess. Yeah, exactly. So,
Terrible
but
idea.
but that definitely sets the tone where they're hiding underneath that bridge and the tornado passes over them. And I mean, the last one is only in 10 times infinitely bigger, but just as scary though. Um, but you're right.
Absolutely.
There's not much really to necessarily continue and expand on or break down because it's at its core it's a very simple movie, but it's a good time and the characters they're all quirky and wacky and the story is just yeah, let's chase a tornado before the other team does that copied our designs and pop in the technology and we're good to go. They went through I think 3 Dorothys and the fourth one was the last one they had and the kicker. That's the one that successfully worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And um what was I gonna say? Yeah, I think what you said there, where it's like this movie is just like a good time with the energy and like the cast and crew about it, and you know, like it's not the most complex story with like a super in depth antagonist. Like the antagonist is just a natural Mother Nature event, and I think that like it's important to set your expectations somewhere around that bar going into Twisters. Because like when I first heard Twisters was coming out, it's like I don't know. I don't know if I have to see
Hmm.
that again. Like I have the nostalgia of the first movie, but there's not enough like yeah, I have nostalgia for the movie, but it was no means like my favorite movie as a kid. So I thought it was kind of weird that they were doing another one until I saw the trailer, and then of course seeing this again, it's just like yeah, this is just gonna be a good time movie with
Mm-hmm.
some good fun sequences, some fun characters on screen, and yeah, that's what I'm hoping to get out of it, and I definitely think it'll meet there because it isn't too complicated. I think it's kind of a hard one to fuck up. Maybe if they try to do too much, they you know the tornadoes can camouflage. They're cloning tornadoes, starting to do
They
some
have a
Jurassic World
conscience now.
things. They have a conscience. Yeah, yeah, they're breeding. They're
They're
breeding.
pretty fuck. Well, Leslie, you got anything else to add? What would you rate this movie?
I don't have anything else to add, and my rating for this movie, I think I'm gonna give it a good 8 out of 10.
Eight out of 10.
I think that's pretty damn solid. It's nothing too out there in the negative or positive direction. It's just a good time. Maybe I was thinking like a 7, 7.5, but the nostalgia for it, especially like that sequence of like the nighttime when it lights up and then you see the tornado there is just it's a really great visual and just showing like how vulnerable really people are and just powerless. Like if that thing's there, it doesn't matter if you have Dorothy or Dorothy and her cousin. Like you are fucked. There's no
Yeah,
way that you're able to get out of that, right?
yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy I don't live in an area that gets tornadoes. I know probably a lot of our listeners are. So stay safe out there.
Stay safe. I could not agree more. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 as well. I think that's a really well rounded off score for this kind of a movie. It's just it's a good time and this is one that I could easily see myself rewatching. Not 3 times a year, but once a year, maybe twice. It's a lot of fun, and it has me super stoked on what this new one is going to bring to the table, and just the CGI alone being so much more improved, and seeing just some crazy stuff that pops off in this film. It's just gonna be a good time. I look forward to it, and the cast as well. getting to know what kind of tie-ins and connections we have to this universe and our old Twister group as well. I'm sure we'll get some references and some names, Joe Harding, Bill Harding, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I.
Maybe her dad will land by the time of
Oh yeah,
Twisters,
he'll
right? He's
finally
still
come
in the
down.
air, and
He's
then
still in
all
the air
these years later he lands with his door still holding on.
with his door. Yeah, he'll be looking like this after that.
The wind blew his hair right off.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of GeekVerse Podcast. We'll be back, I guess, yeah, whenever, doing our next biggest, funnest new thing. So until then, we'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.
Bye.